You ain't from the hood.
Already
Nah. You ain't get put on, you ain't from the hood.
not right now. Y'all late. Y'all late.
You ain't never got put on, you ain't from the hood. Niggas always claim to set blood, ain't from the hood. Hell nah. You ain't never got put on, you ain't from the hood. Oh, I live in the hood, ass nigga. Never got put on, always claiming the hood though. Oh, you fucking with the homegirl, but don't come to the hood with none of your damn homeboys. They don't get a pass. Had the little homies press they ass for your tattoos. Hey, your mama waking up to some bad news. The plug saying groove, I'm a dime. I was long in the race, skinny nigga with the braid, took a 2-man fade. I'm really from the hood. I took a fucking break to get my money right. But I was begging on the plane in the meeting with Jermaine. They like, poet, oh, you bang? Yeah, they forgot where I came from. I was gang banging when it wasn't fun. Homie doing life right now, cause we don't You ain't from the hood. Nah, you ain't get put on, you ain't from the hood. So what? You ain't never got put on, you ain't from the hood. Niggas always claim to set blood, ain't from the hood. Hell nah. You ain't never got put on, you ain't from the hood. And that goes for these hoes too. Start fucking on niggas and throwing these niggas hood up. Ha, little dot. Heard you gave a homie head in the trap spot. Got a throwaway in the stash spot. Boy, you not real, like a Sasquatch. Boy, I'm so high, I'm seeing astronauts. Boy, I ball hard, I need a mascot. Oh, and Swahili, I'm a Damu. My little cousin making Paru. My nigga Uzi, he from Fire Deuce. Pad blows, I be hanging with some real whoops. Gang signs out the window when we drive coupes. Making money with some crips like it's 92. Banging on tracks. Back in my days, it was banging on. You ain't from the hood. Nah, you ain't get put on, you ain't from the hood. So, you ain't never got put on, you ain't from the hood. Niggas always claim to set blood, ain't from the hood. Hell nah. You ain't never got put on, you ain't from the hood.
Fuck Chris Brown, nigga. Pull up in the hood right now, nigga. Catch your fade, nigga. Fuck, nigga. Frogs.
You ain't from the hood.
Holla soon, the blood starts swirling. Fuck you talking about, nigga. We out here, nigga, right now. We out here right now, nigga.
Where's everybody at? Where's the chat? Right? This is a new channel, so hopefully the notifications and all that is getting out to the people. Hopefully the people that was on the other channel on my Rumble come over here, right? We were looking for the people from Rumble to come over here, right? Because this is a very important video, right? I have to go. Matter of fact, if this video, I'm gonna have to do this video later because I can't do this. This video is too important. I have to go back to Rumble or something, right? Later on today, I have to go back to Rumble or something. Unless some more people come on in. Let some people come on in. Michael Beck, send this video out to somebody. All the 6 people, send this video out to your Facebook people or something like that, right? If they Trump supporter and they in Florida or something like that, go ahead and send the link out. Because this video is too important, right? I know why DeSantis won the election, right? Oh, we got another person that came in. Oh, longest time in. If time in, we start. Longest time here. If time here, we start. I don't give a damn who else on here. I do this whole show for time. Time, we on now. As long as time here, I'm good, right? Now, time. I was telling you on the phone, Tom, I was going to find some racist shit on DeSantis, Tom. I told you over the phone, Tom. I text your ass and say, hey, man, you may not like it, but I'm finna do it, Tom. Tom like, go ahead, fuck it. So you got to spread the truth. So long as Tom say I'm spreading the truth, I'm cool with that, right? Now, Tom, listen to this, right? I finna explain to you. I didn't know this DeSantis was racist. I didn't know that DeSantis had a long line of racist shit in the history of racism. I thought DeSantis was on the up and up. Now, I know what Donald Trump is going to use against DeSantis, right? And if he ever debate him or DeSantis ever was to go against him, I know what Donald Trump is going to use to crush him. And you remember, you saw this here first, right? So if anybody be like, hey, man, Fox News or anybody come out with this later on, remember where you saw this first, right? I'm reading the mind of Donald Trump. I think like Donald Trump, right? right? I'm in the image of Donald Trump, right? If Donald Trump talks shit, I'm gonna talk shit, right? So let's, with no further delay, you want me to wait, Tom? You want me to wait on some people, Tom? If people ain't gonna come, they can just watch it later. Should I go on Rumble? I probably got to go on Rumble, right? This messed up that all my channels is fucking gone. This messed up that all my channels is gone. Tom, they're gonna be able to catch up, right? If I do this video, whoever ain't in, right, they'll be able to catch up with later, right? Because I gotta promote this channel. I don't think this channel, I ain't been on this channel so long, I don't think that people know about this channel right here. Or they can't follow the directions of one, right? They don't know about this channel, right? So we finna go ahead. With this video because, like I say, people can come on late. I want to be able to share this video anyway, right? Because this video is vicious, right? And people being a search engine, they're gonna come up and look for this video, right? Now, let me get into this. The reason why Desantis is not going to win no election, he got too much baggage on his hand. He got too many faults on his hand. He can't compete with Donald Trump. And like I said, after that Donald Trump statement about he running for president, I don't think nobody in the Republican Party got a chance with Donald Trump. Let's roll it, Tom.
We'd like to know what you think about Trump's big announcement of some of the less than flattering comments he has made about you.
Well, you know, one of the things I've learned in this job is when you're leading, when you're getting things done, yeah, you take incoming fire. That's just the nature of it.
Sir, he is an enemy of the people, and you too are an enemy.
Right? This is some black people, right? We always hear the good things about Ron DeSantis, right? We never hear the bad things, right? Now, this is some black people, some protesters, right? Wanted talking to the governor, right? Went into the building where the governor worked at, want to talk to the governor, right, about his pandemic relief, right? And this, whoever this is, the doorman or the secretary, whatever, won't let him in or won't deliver a message that the black man and the black group want to talk to Ron DeSantis.
Yes. Yes, sir, you are. You're attempting to stop us from gathering peaceably in a public building. That, sir, is appalling and absurd. This is a public meeting. This is a public official. This is a public building. We have a right to be here, and we are not moving.
I roll out of bed in the morning. I've got corporate media outlets that have a spasm, just the fact that I'm getting up in the morning, and it's constantly attacking. And this is just what's happening.
Don't he sound like Donald Trump? Ain't he trying to play a victim role like Donald Trump? He trying to make himself in the image of Donald Trump? No, the media do not attack you like they attack Donald Trump, right? You get attacked on a state level. Donald Trump get attacked on a national level. Damn it, on a world level, if you want to be honest about it.
And I don't think any governor got attacked more, particularly by corporate media, than me over my 4-year term.
We pay taxes. Yes.
We're not moving. Now, where's the governor? Is he going to run and hide, or will he face the people?
He didn't get out.
We're waiting. Go get it.
And yet, I think what you learn is all that's just noise. And really what matters is, are you leading? Are you getting in front of issues? Are you delivering results for people? And are you standing up for folks? And if you do that, then none of that stuff matters.
See, now, he able to say this on a national stage, right? You see how he's able to say all this stuff about Trump. Oh, I'm a winner. I'm this and I'm a. He's trying to play the good guy, but Ron DeSantis is really not the good guy, right? And I'm only doing this for exposure, right? I won't let this out, right? I won't put this on my big channel if Ron DeSantis take his name out the presidential race, right? Other than that, we got to keep this video up.
You're not back yet?
Sir, I'm his aide.
Go and get him. Go and get him. We're waiting for him.
You may have.
We're waiting.
Yes,
We're waiting.
We're waiting for the government, sir. We're the people.
We the people, and we the people should have the right to talk to a public official, right? About public matters, right? We the people.
You heard that before? We the people?
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that's us.
And that's what we've done. We focused on results and leadership. And, at the end of the day, I would just tell people to go check out the scoreboard from last Tuesday night.
Your governor, by the way, throughout this pandemic has been asleep at the wheel.
Yes.
And in recent weeks, during the upsurge of the variant, this governor has been mysteriously missing in action.
See, right? Remember, a good part of the Desantis pandemic, right? He was going around doing world tours, and he was putting himself on TV a lot, right? Doing news conferences and stuff like that, exposing how good his state was and stuff like that, right? But really, I couldn't put it on here, right? But really, he lied about the numbers. I'm glad I took that out. He lied about them numbers, right? And he got busted about lying about the numbers. I should have put it in, but I'm glad I didn't.
And I think this hurts Trump fundamentally. I would be very surprised if Trump were the Republican nominee in 2024.
He's not trapped in there with them. They can't get away from him.
I can tell you those primaries get very messy and very raw. We've experienced that before.
I think it's also safe to say right now that Donald Trump is the most dangerous person to the Republican Party, and they richly deserve it. It will be quite something to see the Republicans try to distance themselves from the man they helped create.
Right. They saying we helped create Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump helped create a whole movement, right? Ron DeSantis ain't created no whole movement, right? They're trying to tell Ron DeSantis, and it's a damn shame that Fox News, like I keep on saying, like I said in my last video, it's a damn shame Fox News ain't telling DeSantis, hey, you need to step out of the race. You need to back on down because Trump will destroy you.
He is going to be the dominant force in this party for as long as he still keeps, dragging breath into his lungs.
I can understand Donald Trump feels very betrayed, and there's nothing wrong with that.
So wouldn't it be nicer for him, and I think he knows this, to wait until 2028?
Because you don't want them secrets exposed, right? You don't want all the secrets that Donald Trump know about you exposed, and some of them about to get exposed today.
This is a guy who has a bond with the base of the party. And I know right now there's this idea that Ron DeSantis is the hot flavor or Glenn Youngkin.
Former state rep Anthony Sabatini is not among them, however. The firebrand who supports both politicians says he's signing with Trump on this one.
Get out of here. These guys are going to get chewed up and spit out by this guy. It is going to be a hideous display of cruelty and brutality, worse than what he did to Marco and Jeb and Ted Cruz and everyone.
Donald Trump is a lion, and you sons of bitches is sheeps, right? Why are you gonna let a lion loose in a damn a sheep pen, right? In a cage full of sheep, right? Sheep shouldn't be in no lion cage, right? You don't put the sheep in the lion cage with Donald Trump. Don't do that, right? Don't get yourself exposed. Don't get yourself murdered, right? Don't get yourself eaten alive by Donald Trump. It's gonna be ugly.
In 2016.
He's got more energy and focus now than he's ever had. I think he's definitely ready to win. I like Ron DeSantis, but I think he should run in a different election cycle.
These people don't stand a damn chance against him. He is going to eat them up like a crocodile.
Republicans, as you well know, don't have feelings. They have interests, and they will ride with you until you are a loser. And Trump, as he famously likes to call other people, is now a loser.
You see how they trying to say Donald Trump is a loser, right? Like Donald Trump said, right? Donald Trump was like 200 something and like 20 in the midterms, right? He didn't lose too many endorsements, right? Like I told my friend, it's only possible we only lose one, right? And that's in the Senate, right? We didn't lose none in Congress. We gained seats in the Congress. So no matter what nobody say, we gained seats in the Congress. And we took that shit over, right? But they want to make it seem like Donald Trump is a loser, trying to cause friction, right? Amongst Trump supporters and MAGA and Republicans and all that old shit, right? They're trying to cause friction.
And what Ron DeSantis represents is the possibility to have Donald Trump who can read, someone who is literate, clear, articulate, but still has the same disgusting draconian policies. And I think that the Republican base will go with him over Trump, and you'll see that in the first primary available.
Right? Now, you know a damn shame when Simone got to speak up for Trump, right? And Fox News is not speaking up for Trump, right? Simone got to speak up for him.
We are suggesting to you, sir, and to the rest of the world, that when it comes down to the public welfare, this governor does not not care.
He doesn't care about us.
So let me throw a wrench in here. And I actually disagree about Ron DeSantis. He is virtually untested outside of Florida.
Right? He is untested outside of Florida. Donald Trump is tested on the world stage, right? Remember how everybody thought Joe Biden was going to be able to do a better job than Donald Trump, right? Remember that, right? Oh, he's going to be able to have a better foreign policies. He's going to be able to lower taxes and all that. You don't know what you're going to get until you got it, right? With Donald Trump, we know what we got. With Ron DeSantis, we don't know what we're going to get. He was working with a state, and I'm about to prove, right, that's not really him. That was really all Donald Trump, right? So he's running on Donald Trump record. DeSantis not even running on his own record.
When it comes down to the people's welfare, this governor does not care.
He doesn't care.
And if you look at this election that just happened, election in 2020, it seems like what Ron DeSantis represents a Donald Trump that can read. I like that. I'm gonna steal that, Mark. It's not popular in a general election, right? Like, I mean, am I wrong, folks?
No, you're right. What DeSantis is pushing is not popular in a national election, right? What he can push in that shit is Florida. Okay, that's cool, but he can't push that shit over the United States, right? Like Donald Trump. If DeSantis get up in a presidential debate against somebody from the Democratic Party, they will destroy DeSantis, especially somebody like Newsom.
We're here to make clear our position. It's time for him to address the people.
Yes.
Go and get it.
Go get him. Face the people.
You hear the lady in the back? Go get him. Grab the people. You know, you always got some black lady in the back. His background protester. Go get him. Yeah, we the people.
Time to face the people. Yes.
Another attack from former President Donald Trump aimed at Governor Ron DeSantis. Trump is upset over the possibility that DeSantis will make a run for the White House in 2024.
He starts by referring to him as Ron DeSanctimonious, the nickname he coined last Saturday.
Trump. Now, the sanctimonious means somebody, right, who's trying to have ability and power, right, that they really didn't earn, right? So what Donald Trump is saying, your name is Ron Sanctimonious because you really didn't earn that position. That's my position. You didn't earn that spot. That's my spot, right? Now, I'm finna let you know, I'm finna prove to you how Donald Trump made DeSantis. Made him. That's why Donald Trump is upset. He made DeSantis.
At 71, Ron DeSanctimonious at 10%.
No, you're not talking to a child. Okay?
Then goes on to call him a, quote, average governor with great public relations.
Sir, where is the news conference? We're trying to hold our public officials accountable.
Yes.
I think that is fair. I think that is reasonable that we hold our elected officials accountable.
Part of the
right? Ron DeSantis ain't being held accountable, right? He don't answer to the people, right? He got good public relationships. And I'm finna explain why he got good public relationships later on in the video. Most secrets to expose. Just hold on, right? Always get to the good part last, right? It's a build-up. I'm building up the show. I'm building up the lies, right? I'm building up the story, right? So right now, we just at the exposing part, right? How Ron DeSantis ain't listening to the people in the state, how Donald Trump have basically made his career. We get into the juicy part, right? Hold on with me.
The statement reads, Ron came to me in desperate shape in 2017. He was politically dead, losing in a landslide to a very good agriculture commissioner, Adam Putnam.
And as soon as I endorsed him, within moments, the race was over.
Ron had low approval, bad polls, and no money. But
right? No, the Democrats, the Republican Party, right, just like a lot of other people, wasn't putting money into Ron DeSantis, right? They wasn't putting money behind Florida because they thought Florida was a loss, right? So they wasn't putting money. So Donald Trump was right. Ron came to me desperate shape in 2017. He was politically dead, a fact, right? Because he wouldn't even beat in the primaries, losing in a landslide to a very good agriculture commissioner, right? Adam Putnam, right? That was somebody he was in the primaries because he lost to Gillum for governor, right? He was losing to him. Donald Trump came in and his approval ratings went up, right? He had no money, but he said, if you endorse me, I can win. That's all he needed. He didn't need the money. He didn't need none of that. He needed a Donald Trump endorsement.
But he said if I would endorse him, he could win.
You, sir, are attempting to stop the people from gathering in a public building on public property to address a public official. That, sir, is absurd. Go and get the governor.
I got him the nomination. He didn't get it. I got it because the minute I made that endorsement, he got it.
I endorsed him. It was as though, to use a bad term, a nuclear weapon went off.
Go and get the governor. I'm still talking to you. Go and get the governor.
If you're not talking to me, you can.
Go and get the governor. You make me leave.
All right, let's go.
Make me leave. I'm disobeying. I'm not. I'm not. End of question.
Right? And I'm finna let you know, right? There's gonna be a lot of secrets exposed in this video. I'm also gonna let you know how, right, that Ron DeSantis discouraged the black vote, right? And so most of the racist shit gonna come up in a minute, right? Finna start coming up exactly right now, right? Now, most of the people didn't know that Florida, right? Florida in 2017 was one of the main places supposedly for the white supremacists and shit like that. Under, right, Ron DeSantis' rule, right? Now it's been rumored and it's also been evidence that Ron DeSantis was also getting supported by white supremacist parties, right? He was getting supported by KKK and it was at his rallies and stuff like that. He never denounced them or anything, right? He also had racist comments. He also had racist views and all kind of shit, right? Let's get into it, right?
President Trump was in Tampa, Florida Tuesday, where he encouraged voters to head to the polls in November. The president gave a hearty endorsement for Republican Representative Ron DeSantis as he makes a bid for Florida governor.
Monday morning, a Quinnipiac.
Look at that. Monday morning, Andrew Gillum was up 50% to 43%, right? He was up. Ron DeSantis was down. So when Donald Trump said, hey, Ron DeSantis was down in the water, he had bad polls, no money, and none of that shit. Was he lying? It's evidence, it's proof that Ron DeSantis wasn't going to win the governor race. He was way out of the race. Oops.
Quinnipiac poll gives Gillum a 7-point advantage, one of the largest spreads yet.
Donald Trump is back at the White House tonight after giving Florida voters a clear directive for who he wants in the governor's office.
DeSantis will face off against State Agriculture Commissioner Adam Putnam in the state's primary later this month. Mr. Trump also touted his economic and trade policies.
McManus describes this midterm as a redo of the 2016 presidential election, something Ron DeSantis fully embraces.
Right? He embraces Donald Trump 2016 election, right? Something Ron DeSantis is accepting. Remember, Ron DeSantis, he only got on because he followed all of Donald Trump policies, right? He followed them to a T. It's not his policies he won on, it's Donald Trump policies.
I will be able to work constructively with the Trump administration to advance Florida's priorities. Andrew wants to impeach Donald Trump. He's not going to be able to work constructively. That means he's not going to be able to advance key priorities for the state.
We can fight illegal immigration. The wall, one of the most cheered topics of the night. DeSantis.
Who idea is the wall, right? He's getting up there talking about Donald Trump policies as like the wall in immigration. That's not your policy how you won. That's Donald Trump policy.
DeSantis touting Trump's border security plan at the podium.
Great to be with you all. And let me just say, Mr. President, given your change of registration, welcome home.
Right? Welcome home, right? You see this in the background? Trump, 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 right? President Trump in Sunrise, Florida, right? Now, I'm going to write a joke about this. How is this a rally for DeSantis and everybody there to see Trump? Huh? The only reason you got this audience is because Donald Trump came. All these supporters, this black man right here, right? All these supporters are Trump supporters, loyalist Trump supporters. Ain't no Ron DeSantis hats up in there. This is a rally for Ron DeSantis, but really, Trump is talking 90% of the damn time.
Florida.
Look at Donald Trump back there like, get my money, bitch. Donald Trump a pimp. Donald Trump like, get my money. Get my money.
And why not come to Florida? We have one of the lowest 50 states. I'm just saying. But now, not only do we have Casey, who does a great job, but we also have Melania as a Florida resident. So we're really lucky in that regard in Florida.
Remember, he said Casey. Casey is his wife. That's really important. Coming up real soon.
Then he ran, and he wasn't supposed to be able to win. I did 2 rallies. We had 52,000 people each one, and he won.
The former president also mentioned South Florida specifically, claiming he was the reason DeSantis won governor the first time in 2018.
And I thought that he could have been more gracious, but that's up to him.
But let me tell you about the president when we have...
Right? Do you hear him up here talking about his policies? He's telling you about Donald Trump, right? He's at his own rally, right, promoting Donald Trump policies, right? He's not saying anything about himself. He's saying everything about Donald Trump. Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that. So how in the hell is Donald Trump not responsible for his governorship, right, when he's at a rally pumping Donald Trump policy, not his own policy, what he gonna do, like as far as Donald Trump policy and how he's gonna help Donald Trump with Donald Trump policies, not Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump policies.
Had a hurricane hit Northwest Florida. A lot of people had forgotten about that. Those folks were really, really in dire straits. I went up to the Oval Office, and even though a lot of people told him, don't do anything, just let it go, he was right there standing behind the people of Northwest Florida. He has helped rejuvenate that area.
Huh? He has helped. Donald Trump has helped rejuvenate that area. It wouldn't have got done without Donald Trump help. Joe Biden wouldn't have done it.
He saved Tyndall Air Force Base. It's going to come back bigger than ever.
He saved the Air Force Base inside of Florida, right? That wasn't nothing Ron DeSantis done. That was something Donald Trump done. Why ain't Ron DeSantis running on his own policies on what he accomplished, right? He's running on Donald Trump policies.
Very important for our military.
Saying when votes were being stolen by the corrupt election process in Broward County and Ron was going down 10,000 votes a day, along with now Senator Rick Scott, I sent in the FBI and the U.S. attorneys, and the ballot theft immediately ended.
When we were trying to get Floridians access to cheaper prescription drugs, we had an avenue to let people buy them in Canada because it's about a third of the price a lot of times. And everyone said, no, you can't do it, you can't do it. I went up, met with the president. He said, no, we're doing it. And so they're in the process of putting that through right now.
That's another Trump policy, right? You came to him, but he okayed it. When people were saying, don't do it, don't do it. Donald Trump got it done.
Just prior to them running out of the votes necessary to win, I stopped his election from being stolen.
President Trump has stood with our communities in South Florida, Cuban Americans, Venezuelan Americans, to stand for freedom in this hemisphere. And
Donald Trump has stood with him, right? Why he ain't putting himself up in there? I stood with it, right? Because they know damn well Ron DeSantis ain't stood with no Mexicans, blacks, none of that shit, right? They knew Donald Trump made these policies. It wasn't Ron DeSantis. They considered Ron DeSantis a racist before Donald Trump was in office and promoting him.
Stand against the dictatorships in places like Caracas and Havana.
And no, I've always had a very good relationship with him, really, but let's see what happens.
Wendy, people were super excited tonight. Sometimes their cheers were deafening. The president doing everything in his power to make sure that he keeps allies here in Florida.
The president doing everything he could to make sure he keep allies here in Florida, right? That's why he's there in Florida, because guess what? Florida was a big state. It was very important to the election, right? Because it was very important on the national stage. I forget more on that later.
Everybody needs to support Ron DeSantis.
President Donald Trump back in Florida, his first rally in Tampa since winning the White House.
His first rally in Tampa since winning the White House, right? Who he was rallying for? Ron DeSantis, right? Who wasn't saying nothing at their own supposed rally? Ron DeSantis, you got on there, you said a couple of sentences, right? But it was all about Donald Trump. Everybody there to see Donald Trump, right? They ain't saying make Florida great. They saying make America great.
Now stumping next to U.S. Congressman Ron DeSantis to win the governor's race. President Donald Trump making 2 campaign stops in Florida.
And you know what? You put the mayor of Tallahassee, take a look at the bad job he's doing in Tallahassee.
Who was going against Donald? Who was going against Ron DeSantis' opponents, right? Who was fighting Ron DeSantis' war for Ron DeSantis, right? Well, Ron DeSantis was sitting on the sideline. Who was sitting up there taking all the bows and arrows and the bullets for Ron DeSantis in Florida? Donald Trump, right? Who was exposing, right? So-called Ron DeSantis' opponent, right? Donald Trump. Right? It wasn't Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis was sitting on the sideline while Donald Trump was talking for him, right?
You put him here, he'll destroy Florida in 1 year or 2 years if he's doing a good job.
Things might get lost in the shuffle. Many people may not realize that whoever wins the governor's seat here in Florida will also be picking the next Florida Supreme Court.
Right? So remember, Donald Trump got into office, right, because he said he was going to change the federal court system and the Supreme Court system and shit like that. So Florida was very important. And if Gillum would have won, guess what? You'd have had liberal Supreme Court justices inside of Florida, making the laws for kids, making the laws for immigrants, making the laws for all that shit. Guess who stopped that shit? Donald Trump. Because if Gillum would have won, right, Florida wouldn't have been like Florida is right now. Gary Rotier, right, they won because of Trump policies, right? Ron DeSantis was going with Trump policies, and they knew in Florida, right, that if Ron DeSantis would stick with Trump policies, they would win. Florida will be a great state, right? They knew that.
Justices.
Get your friends, get your colleagues, get your neighbors, and get out and vote in November.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and his wife Casey were the stars of election night for the GOP.
You see this? It's Casey DeSantis, right? Her husband's secret weapon, right? Now, everybody think DeSantis run his campaign. It's not DeSantis who running his campaign, right? It's his wife. It's his wife was running the campaign when he was running for governor, and it's his wife that's running the campaign after he took over as governor. It's not him, it's his wife. Everything that he has, right, he then owe it to his wife. Why? Because his wife is a Carrie Lake, right? She's an ex-news person, right? She's inside the media, she know all the scoops, and she give him excellent coverage, right? Excellent media press and all of those shit, right? Because she has her head inside the media inside of Florida, right? The Florida media, thank God, is conservative, but he get excellent publicity inside of Florida, right? Thanks to his wife.
But many think without Casey, Ron might not be a star at all.
DeSantis' wife, Casey, seizing this huge political opportunity to win over Florida voters.
Right? You see his wife won, right? Everybody saying DeSantis won. She took advantage of the situation, right, to take over the crowd. When DeSantis was running, right, remember, it was his wife that was all on the commercials. It was his wife that was pumping him up. It was his wife that was the so-called lead activist and all that other shit inside of Ron DeSantis' campaign. She took the lead, not Ron DeSantis.
Ron, again, I want you to know, is running for the right reasons. Not because he wants to be somebody. It's because he wants to do great things.
And the president has stood. We're one of the most military and veteran-friendly states in the country. He has stood by our veterans, and he has stood by our military.
Ron is a person, I've always had a decent relationship with him, but when I endorsed him, he was gone. He was not going to be able to even be a factor in the race.
You called Casey DeSantis a Wonder Woman, and you said that she is the not-so-secret weapon when it comes to Ron DeSantis and his political aspirations.
Right? Ron DeSantis can't even take credit for his own career, right? He has to give credit, like Fetterman, right? It's the women that are running their campaigns, right? They got to take a back seat because the woman knows she couldn't get with Ron DeSantis at right by herself, right? Because they wouldn't support a woman like they support Ron DeSantis. So what she do? She become the brains behind the operation, right? She's the campaign manager, right? She's the spokesman. She's all that for Ron DeSantis. She speaks more than Ron DeSantis.
The couple married in September 2009 at the Walt Disney World Resort. In 2010, Casey worked as a host for the PGA Tour, appearing on the Golf Channel.
I'm joined now by Masa Saidi. She is an investigative reporter at WFLA in Tampa who has covered the governor for years. And we are also joined by Isabel Vincent, investigative reporter for the New York Post, who just wrote a profile on the couple. Isabel, I want to start with you. In your profile,
a couple years later, Ron DeSantis was elected to Florida's 6th congressional district, the start of his political career.
And so, right, the start of his political career was after he married his wife, right? Somebody that was already in politics, right, and already in the media.
So our success in Florida, obviously we've got a lot of great people in this state, but we have a president who not only understands Florida, he supports what we're doing here. I got to bug him now about maybe locating the Space Command in Florida at some point. I know the Air Force doesn't want it, but, you know, he makes his own decisions, as we've seen. So thank you, Mr. President, for being a good friend to Florida, and God bless you, God bless Florida, and God bless the United States of America.
Ever since, Casey has reportedly been part of a very tight inner circle, relying on her TV experience to advise her husband on media strategy and appear in campaign ads.
Advise her husband in media strategy and appearing in campaign ads. She running this shit, right? She's running it. They can hate Ivanka because they hate Donald Trump, right? But they can't hate Casey, right? Because remember, she started off as a cancer survivor, right? So they can't hate a cancer survivor, can they?
So I spoke to a lot of people who said that she's really the strategist and the sort of brilliance behind a lot of the things he's done.
Build the wall.
He's teaching Madison to talk.
Make America great again.
He'd be on there. And I always thought Ron was a little heavy.
Right? Remember, this is Donald Trump at Ron DeSantis' rally, right? Joking about Ron DeSantis, lightening him up, making him humanizing him, right? Making him seem social, right? Because didn't nobody know who Ron DeSantis was. He didn't get up there with no personality and no jokes or no smart smart comments or anything like that. So Donald Trump had to soften it up and invite Ron DeSantis and the people to accept Ron DeSantis.
I thought he was a little overweight. That's okay. We all have our problems. Didn't matter. But people liked him. He ran an incredible race. Remember, that was an incredible race.
I mean, if you think about, she's a former journalist. The Wonder Woman sort of label comes from her, battling cancer last year.
You want to know who Ron DeSantis really is.
Right? They giving Ron DeSantis, she giving Ron DeSantis credit for something her husband supposed to do. You want to know who Ron DeSantis is? She's a cancer survivor, right? She's a news media personnel, right? So she knows how to work the media. She knows how to get sympathy, and she knows how to campaign, right? She's behind this, right? This is promotion. She's getting sympathy, right? And she's humanizing Ron DeSantis, right? Making him seem more compassionate, making him seem more loving, making him seem more of a loving person and shit like that, right? So she get on there with this message of how she's cured cancer and Ron was there and Ron done this. Everything a husband's supposed to do. He didn't do nothing else any other loving husband wouldn't do. But now she can make a commercial out of it.
More recently, Casey recorded this campaign ad for her husband, focusing on how he helped her after her 2021 diagnosis with breast cancer. She's now cancer-free.
And then coming back and helping with Hurricane Ian, taking charge of it. But, when you think about strategy and you think about that photograph that we at the New York Post had on the cover yesterday.
And then he ran against a Democrat who was supposed to be unbeatable. He got beaten badly, and now this is one of the most popular governors. But I always thought Ron was a little bit heavy.
He was there to pick me off of the ground when I literally could not stand. he was there to fight for me when I didn't have the strength.
So you got Trump, his voice, right? And his wife, his spirit, right? So they humanize him. Trump is speaking for him, right? And she's speaking to the crowd, right? So somebody's speaking for him and somebody's speaking to the people for him, right? Think about it.
To fight for myself. That is who Ron DeSantis is.
The flag of the United States. I mean, this is a message. This is very strategic. I mean, they are putting themselves out there as the new Camelot. Like, this is, you know, the future reigning Camelot of the Republican Party.
You hear that? She's putting herself in position. It's not Ron. You think Ron want to go against Donald Trump? It's the wife pushing him to go against Donald Trump. She thinks she can do this. She's a media expert. She's behind it all. She want to be the head bitch in charge.
When she isn't busy with their 3 young children, Casey DeSantis can be found at her husband's side on the campaign trail.
Ron, again, I want you to know, is running for the right reasons. Not because he wants to be somebody. It's because he wants to do great things.
And then one day I'm with him and I pat him on the shoulder and I go, whoa, that's strong. That's a lot of muscle there. My hand didn't sink in like it does with a lot of people.
In the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, where the disaster relief fund she oversees brought in upwards of $50 million.
Huh? Oh, she oversaw, not Ron DeSantis, something she saw in Ron DeSantis' name. She's running this shit. She's the face of the party. She's the face of the campaign. She's the face of the government office inside the government mansion. It's not Ron DeSantis, it's his wife.
And then I see him without his shirt one day. And this guy is strong. And he's not fat. That's all power. That's all muscle. I want to tell you that. And I said, Ron, you're one of the few I say it to. Don't walk around with a jacket all the time. Take it off. People are going to see the real Ron.
Huh? Ron, you owe your shit to the real Donald Trump.
All I can say is, you know, our hearts and our prayers are with so many people.
Who the voice? Who behind his wife? He's behind his wife. She's getting the sympathy. She's the voice, right? She the one speaks, right? They don't show all the media coverage, right? They only show when Ron DeSantis is on the news. They don't show all the time she speaks before or after Ron DeSantis. As a publicist, as damn near spokesperson, right? She speaks for Ron DeSantis while he's sitting his dumb ass in the back looking stupid.
People who are suffering. Which is why about 24 hours ago, we launched the Disaster Relief Fund.
But he's a great guy. He's a tough guy. He's a brilliant guy. And he's our governor. And I'm very proud. When we got involved with Ron, a lot of people were saying, do you think he can make it? I said, he's going to make it because he's a champ. He's a winner.
Right? Who's not speaking up for Ron DeSantis, right? Who brought Ron DeSantis from losing the race to winning the race? If it wasn't for Donald Trump, it wouldn't be no damn Ron DeSantis.
And I want you to say a few words.
And of course, on election night this week, as he basked in the glow of his re-election victory, the governor shining a spotlight on his wife.
And most important of all, thank you to the greatest first lady in all 50 states.
And she was voted the greatest 50. And she was voted that, right? Because she know how to make an interest. She know how to play the media, right? This is Ron DeSantis' secret weapon. It's his wife.
For being a great wife, giving unwavering support, being a tremendous mother to our 3 young children.
The atmosphere inside
now
the expo hall of the Florida State Fairgrounds was like a giant party. Supporters hanging on to every word. He talked about North Korea, the Iran nuclear deal, China, the economy, the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, a wide range of topics that also included bashing Hillary Clinton and NFL players protesting the national anthem. but Trump always circling back to why he is in Tampa.
Right? He always circling back to why he's in Tampa, there to support Ron DeSantis, right? You hear the news media always circling back. He said his media, right? I mean, he said his shit. He done his point, right? But he always circled back to Ron DeSantis, giving Ron DeSantis the support he needs to become governor.
Earlier today, I also spent time with your current governor, one of our nation's truly great leaders, Rick Scott. But I wanted to be here to formally endorse Ron. You got to get out and vote.
Florida's gubernatorial contest is gaining attention over the issue of race.
Now we finna get into why Ron DeSantis is considered racist, right? I say the best part for last, right? We finna get into why, and we finna have the evidence on why Ron DeSantis is considered a racist, right? I know you've been waiting on the juicy part. I know you've been waiting on the details, but here we go right now. We finna get into why Ron DeSantis is considered a racist. And some of the shit he done in Florida was foul, was evil, right? And we about to show you. I'm about to show you right now.
Race.
Ron DeSantis from Florida is in the news again following his terrible racist statement regarding his black Democratic gubernatorial opponent.
Which is why, right? Ron DeSantis was in the news, right, for remarks about his black Democrat opponent, racist remarks.
Which
is why I've called on my opponent to really work to rise above some of these things. People are taking their cues from him.
They have not been supporters of me at all.
Where were they trashing?
Right, hold on. Right, Ron DeSantis, right? Ron DeSantis.
They have not been.
Right, got so-called white supremacists supporting him. They be at his rallies, they was passing out pamphlets, right, and all kind of shit. Ron DeSantis, it's not me saying it, right? This is the news saying it. Ron DeSantis got a group of white supremacists following his ass around.
They have not been supporters of me at all.
Where were they trashing?
They handed out all these really despicable flyers at the Florida Family Policy Council debate.
Right? They handed out racist pamphlets, right, and KKK messaging, right, at a Ron DeSantis prep rally, right? And people want to know, why was these racists at your event? Why does these racists keep on passing out pamphlets at your event, right? You have to give us a reason for that, right? If you're not racist, why do you have racist connections?
Or a forum between me and Putnam.
Democrat Andrew Gillum has been targeted by racist robocalls, which include the sounds of a monkey.
Senator, I'm going to direct.
Right? Did you hear that? Senator, right? Wait, this dude was running for governor, had robocalls calling his house and calling all kind of Florida voters with monkey sounds and monkeys in the back, right? Now, after the sounds in the robocalls, right, with the monkeys in the back, Ron DeSantis made a racist comment about his black opponent monkeying around and messing up Florida, right? After, you could have used some different language, you could have used a different narrative, right? But when you say monkeying around, right after this black man get robocalls with monkeys in the background, the shit seemed connected. And guess what? The fake news wasn't going to let you get away with it.
Direct this next question to you. On live TV in August, on the first day of the general election campaign, you said of Andrew Gillum's run for governor, quote, the last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by embracing a socialist agenda.
Well, hello there. Right, this is a recording, right, of white racist KKK members, right, the same ones that come to Ron DeSantis so-called rallies is calling black people with robocalls, right, with racist messages like a dumb nigga, like a dumb black person, right, calling and asking you to vote for Andrew Gillum.
I is the Negro Andrew Gillum, and I'll be asking you to make me governor of this here state of Florida.
Fox News quickly disavowed your words, saying, quote, they do not condone the language.
For Gillum. Well, now we have some more details on who Ron DeSantis really is. Media Matters did an investigation into a questionable Facebook group.
Right? Not only was racist in Florida calling, leaving robocalls, right? Ron DeSantis is also linked to a racist Facebook group, and he's a moderator. He got the control, and he can add people, subtract people, right? delete messages, right, and all those stuff. He's an administrator in a racist Facebook group, right? Now, this is not me saying it. This is something that the media has proved, right? You having all these racist connect, monkey calls, monkey sayings, right? Now you got a Facebook group, right, that promote racist shit.
A racist, horrible Facebook group that Ron DeSantis was actually an administrator of.
A white supremacist group is claiming responsibility.
So DeSantis was one of 52 administrators and moderators of the Tea Party group, which is not affiliated with the official Tea Party Patriots.
The words are just as vile as much as they are racist.
Right, and the cold thing about it, right, on the robocall, like the lady said, right, the white supremacists took credit for it. They was taking credit for the robocall, like, yeah, we did it.
A robocall hitting the phone lines of Florida voters with the voice of a man who claims to be, but is not, Andrew Gillum.
Now, when Natalie Martinez with Media Matters broke this story and tweeted about it, DeSantis was like, oh yeah, let's be cool. I'm no longer admin. What are you talking about?
I don't have to do that because I can identify the problems with his record, his vision, and his lack of leadership. For me, all they're trying to do is slime me with what other people do.
Right? And this is Ron DeSantis' excuse for everything, right? Every time they try to say, hey, Ron DeSantis, can you denounce white supremacy, right? He never denounced him. Like, see, that's a smear campaign. They're trying to smear me. They're trying to do this. He never denounces the KKK. They ask him all the time in debates and everything. Hey, can you denounce the KKK, right? He always gives some example and go on with a long ass sentence on how he's been framed, on how it's not right, and all that shit. All you got to do is be like Donald Trump and say, I denounce the KKK. I denounce white supremacy. I denounce the Proud Boys. But he didn't denounce not one white supremacist. Right, and the media is questioning why you not denouncing the KKK when you have robocalls, when you said the monkeying thing, when you was part of a racist Facebook group, right? All you got to do is denounce them, and you ain't done it.
Why don't you focus on my policies? Why don't you focus on my leadership?
How much of a joke can you possibly be? Like, it doesn't make it better if you, after the story comes out, decide to no longer be the admin. But let me give you more details. Several members of the group have shared DeSantis's campaign posts, with one specifically naming the candidate as an admin of the group with nearly 95,000 members.
Outside groups like these are going to absolutely take their cues from Republican leadership and from Republican candidates.
Right, and she's talking about the racist white people, right, that was at, right, Ron DeSantis' rally, handing out racial literature. And they just wasn't doing it at the rallies. They was also doing it in neighborhoods, on the streets, right? They were beating the shit out of Jews and stuff like that. But Ron DeSantis didn't denounce the group not one time, right? So these activists and these people on news want to know why Ron DeSantis, right, ain't denounced none of these groups, these hate groups that are so-called doing shit in his name.
So why was this page so problematic? The group's members have shared racist, misogynistic, and offensive posts, including posts slamming Parkland shooting survivors and disparaging Black Lives Matter activists, comparing both to Hitler.
That makes sense.
Okay.
And they were online doing this stuff. That whole group of them was spreading all kind of misinformation and lies about me the whole primary.
Now, you hear that? He don't never denounce them. They're spreading lies about me. He always said they're spreading lies about me. He never denounced the people. That group, right, are spreading lies about me. He's talking about the KKK is spreading lies about him, right? He's not denouncing them. He just say, hey, they're spreading lies about me.
Also, in one of the posts that was Islamophobic, a person posted about Trump and said, President Trump eats bacon. Just one more reason to elect him in 2020.
Meaning he's not Muslim, right? He's not Muslim, right? These are some of Ron DeSantis supporters inside of his Facebook group, saying things about Donald Trump, saying things about Barack Obama, saying things about racial shit, right?
It is hard to claim that the original comment that DeSantis made about monkeying things up isn't connected to robocalls that then have monkeys in the background.
And then,
you can't say, right, that is not connected. You had RoboCops making monkey sounds. You heard about it. You was questioned about it, right? Then you get right on TV and say monkeying around. You can't do that. People gonna consider that racist.
And then continue to say, oh, I'm sorry. And then a commenter in that post said, unlike the last guy, meaning Obama, at least you know he isn't a Muslim mole.
Why don't you focus on the fact that when Andrew Gillum was on the Tallahassee Commission voting himself additional benefits, I raised my hand to go serve this country in Iraq. Why don't we have that debate?
Right? He don't want to talk about his racist history, right? He don't want to talk about the KKK to support him. He don't want to talk about none of the people, the racist people that finance his campaign. He don't want to talk about nothing like that. He want to talk about Andrew Gillum.
So you can tell he's a little bit exasperated
Wow,
by you pushing for answers there.
Yeah, this is a problem that his campaign has. It got off to a rocky start with comments that he directly made, referring to we can't monkey around with this or monkey this up.
My Steve doesn't call me monkey. He's doing a lot of hollering.
The terms monkey and Negro are used, and today at a campaign stop in Aventura, the Republican gubernatorial candidate Ron DeSantis was quick to distance himself from any association.
And then now that sort of fed into one thing begets another, and now he's got a series of things that are driving this narrative that is, from his perspective, unfair and frustrating. But at the same time, this is what happens when you're on this sort of a stage. He's right. Congress was one level. Running for governor of the fourth largest or third largest state of the nation, that's a whole other level.
That's a whole nother level, right? So you can do that shit in Florida, but you can't do that shit on a national stage. You got too many racist history. You got too much racist support, right? They're going to expose that. Donald Trump is going to expose that on the national stage. You cannot do it to yourself, Ron DeSantis. We can't let this information get out, you know what I'm saying? As a Republican Party, we can't let Donald Trump spread this information or any other Democrat spread this information about the Republican being a racist party. We can't let this shit out.
Thank you, guys.
Going in Florida these days? How's things going in Florida these days? In addition to this rash of Nazi incidents, in addition to the Nazi incidents themselves, it's kind of a follow-on scandal that's now simmering in Florida involving Florida's Republican governor, Ron DeSantis. When the Nazi group showed up in Central Florida on Saturday, right, screaming anti-Semitic abuse at people and beating up at least one Jewish passerby, and then the Nazis showed up the following day on those overpasses as well. And this was upsetting, right, in Central Florida. And local and state leaders, Democrat and Republican, they all rushed to condemn the Nazis.
But not Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis didn't deny him not one time.
One by one, the local mayor, the sheriff, members of Congress, Florida's Republican U.S. Senator Rick Scott, they all volunteered themselves. They all came forward and condemned the events in no uncertain terms. But from the governor, it's been a little weird. The only initial response from Florida's Republican governor, Ron DeSantis, was this tweet from his press secretary saying, quote, "Do we even know if they are Nazis?" Yeah, they volunteered that they are. And also the swastika banners help with that.
Right? Ron DeSantis sent out a statement through somebody else, not even himself. He didn't even put out his own tweet denouncing the Nazi party, right? We cannot let this information out about Ron DeSantis.
She's since deleted that tweet. You'll be happy to know that after that wobbly start to this little crisis, Governor DeSantis did finally get around to addressing the Nazis in Orlando issue. Here's what he said.
Please respond to the Nazi demonstration in Orlando over the weekend. Why do you feel hate groups would feel?
Like I say, Ron DeSantis don't never want to answer the question about the Nazis. He always want to shift blame on something, right? He cannot answer it. And this will be bad in the debate to try to shift blame or something like that against Donald Trump or even a Democrat for that matter. They're going to make you to look out to be racist.
So what I'm going to say is these people.
I'm just going to stop that there for a second and say what I'm going to say is these people. Right.
Is it that with
It's not. It's because this is what the media does.
Right? Now, somebody asking him again, right, about the racist comments in the Nazi demonstration at your rally, right? He still don't want to answer it. He's still going to place blame on somebody else. Don't investigate me, investigate Andrew Gillum.
You know, it's just like the Weather Channel. That guy's out there doing the thing. And then the people are walking behind like, oh, it's like, it's an attempt to create a narrative.
Talk about this robocall. I mean, this robocall is floating around. It says some pretty vital
all
things.
it is to try, it's garbage. It's trying to distract from the fact that Andrew got caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
You hear what I'm saying? He don't never want to answer it. He always want to shift blame. This is going to look bad. Like I say, people are making DeSantis to be out something that he's not. He's going to look bad in a debate against anybody.
Gillum's campaign is also responding in a statement from a campaign spokesperson saying these disgusting, abhorrent robocalls represent a continuation of the ugliest, most divisive campaign in Florida's history.
Any ideas for who's behind those robocalls?
I don't, but I want to know.
The first statement was made
right. Look, right. He don't never want to say right about any statements or anything that was said right in his favor. Right. So instead of him answering questions, he'd rather get mad.
How the hell am I supposed to know every single statement somebody makes? Here's the deal. Let me just say this straight up. I've lived my life, whether it's athletics, whether it's military, whether it's serving as a prosecutor. When I was downrange in Iraq, we worked together as a team, regardless of race. We had the American flag on our arm. We wore the same uniform, and we fought for the country. When I was a prosecutor, I stood up for victims of every race, color, and creed. That's the only way to do it in our country. It's something I believe in, and as governor, I will represent all the people. Everyone will get a fair shake, but I am not going to bow down to the altar of political correctness. I'm going to not let the media smear me like they like to do with so many other people.
Sir,
I'm certainly not going to take
there.
anything from Andrew Gillum, who's endorsed the Dream Defenders, which says Israel is an apartheid state, and which says the police and prisons have no place in justice.
Did you hear that long ass silhouette that he gave out because he was asked about a racist statement? Right? He does that every time. He can't get away with that. People think he got strong debate points. People think he's going to be able to do good on a national stage against a monster like Donald Trump. He can't even do good against this dude. He can't even rate this moderator, right? So how are you going to do something against Donald Trump, right? Remember, I'm going to show you, this is one part of a debate where he couldn't answer the question, right? I'm going to show you again where he can't answer the same question when he got a shift blame.
You do not do that with Andrew Gillum. Have you asked Andrew Gillum why he had CARE, the Council of American Islamic Relations, to Tallahassee in 2016? He spoke to welcome them. They were an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation terror financing trial, the largest terror financing trial in history. He welcomed them. He thanked them for what they were doing. Why were they in Tallahassee? To protest the anti-BDS legislation that the legislature was doing, which was protecting our relationship with Israel. The CARE people got kicked out of the House committees because they were saying all this anti-Semitic stuff. I don't see the media going after Andrew Gillum.
Wait for the applause and go.
Did you hear that, right? Did you hear all this old soliloquy, right? Every time he asks the question, right? The cold thing about it, like dude for to say, I didn't even ask you the question. You went on a rant. I didn't even ask you a damn question yet.
And Mr. DeSantis, I'll point out, I wish you would have waited for the question because I had a question and it's not what you think it is.
What about his relationship with Dream Defenders? They support boycotting Israel. They equate Israel to an apartheid state. Oh no, he gets his zone of protection. So it's a double standard. It's an attempt to create a narrative. And if I have a crowd with 500 people, how the hell am I supposed to know who's in the crowd?
Right. He don't know if it's racist people in the crowd. What he's saying, right? He don't know. He don't invite the racists to the crowd to his rallies. They just happen to show up, right? They just happen to be able to pass out pamphlets that walk through whatever security you had, right? They just happen to make pass checkpoints and all that with racist pamphlets and allowed to pass that shit in the audience with no kind of security restriction telling them they can't do that, right? So I'm just asking, right? It had to be the media, right, that exposed it because your campaign showed it and exposed it. If it wasn't for the media, they probably wouldn't even say nothing about it, right? I hate to expose this about DeSantis.
Mr. Gillum, I'll give you a chance to respond now.
Well, let me first say, my grandmother used to say a hit dog will holler, and it hollered through this room.
That's not a good way. You do not do that with Democrats. You do not look to find the most radical person in the Democrat audience. I'd like you to start doing that because I'll tell you, it's not very difficult.
Mr. Desantis has spoken. Hey, first of all, he's got neo-Nazis helping him out in this state.
I can find anti-Semites around him. I can find him doing things, but it's almost like we don't want to discuss that.
He has spoken at racist conferences. He's accepted a contribution and would not return it from someone who referred to the former president of the United States as a Muslim, Nigger.
Now, you called some of this response.
Right? Now, you can't, I mean, these are facts, right? And I hate to say it, and I hate to make these connections, right? But these are connections that Ron DeSantis got. He got plenty of donations and contributions to people that are from radical racist parties, right? And I'm like, and I'm not saying that, right, these people are racist, right? Right? I mean, this what society is saying, and this what Democrats and liberals are saying, right? And what's happening is the people that they're calling racist are giving them plenty of information to call them racist, right? So Ron DeSantis, in connection with these people, are making itself more racist, right? You got the racist tweets, you got the racist comments, right? You got and you feel to have some racist policies, right? Everything about Ron DeSantis is pointing towards racism, the KKK, the not denouncing, right? The blaming the black man for certain shit, right? The monkey statement, right? It's a lot of stuff that's going against Ron DeSantis that's not going to look good on a public stage, right? Especially against somebody like Donald Trump.
It's absurd. You've made appearances at 4 of David Horowitz's Freedom Center events.
Right, and if you don't know who David Horowitz is, right, he made an appearance at 4 of them, right? Now, this is David Horowitz, right? He's an open racist, right? Now, if you support an open racist, right, that look bad on you.
Slavery existed in all societies for 3,000 years. Just was a common, it's what you did when you conquered your enemy. You enslaved the men and the women.
Again, 4 separate times, 4 speeches.
From the beginning of time, no one ever said that slavery was immoral. Not Aristotle, not Moses, not Jesus, until white Christians in England, led by Wilberforce, did towards the end of the 18th century.
Among some of Mr. Horowitz's statements, quoting here, this country's only serious race war is against whites.
And in the British colonies at the time.
This is somebody who Ron DeSantis went to not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 of his so-called speeches, right, at the same little place that he had that had rhetoric just like this. I'm not calling dude a racist, but the Democrats will be able to call this dude a racist.
A white slave owner named Thomas Jefferson wrote into America's birth certificate that liberty is a God-given right that government can't take away, and equality too.
You know, I'll ask the questions.
Okay.
It's not a McCarthy game, and I'm giving.
Yeah.
Wait for the question,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Within just a little more than a generation, and at the cost of 350,000 Union lives, slavery was abolished in America and quickly then in the Western Hemisphere. Every black person alive in this country owes their freedom to America.
That sounds like some racist shit. Like I say, I'm not saying he's racist. I'm just saying that kind of sound like some racist shit. Every black person, I mean, he could be right in a way, right? But every black person in America owes their freedom to America, right? He is right in a way, but the way it comes off, it may sound racist.
He also said, if blacks are oppressed in America, why isn't there a black exodus?
Man, why don't black people leave? This is somebody that Ron DeSantis is supposed to be a strong supporter of and donate, right, to Ron DeSantis' campaign.
When asked to return that money, he said no.
I promise I will ask him those 2 groups when I next see him. Just want to respond to the woman.
I don't have any response to it because it's not. First of all, I've never put out a finance committee as the governor's campaign.
Right, they talking about put out a finance committee, right, to see that how much money you got for so-called racial donors, for racial organizations and shit like that. They asked you to put out a finance committee, right? So if you did get some money from them, you can get that money back. Ron DeSantis say, hell no, I'm not putting out one.
I did do something before I got in as kind of like a invisible primary deal. I decided not to do a finance committee since I launched for governor, so I don't have anyone on it necessarily. We have people that are helping informally. We may do one at some point, so there's really nothing to even say. People can say what they want, and that's just, it's a free country.
He's using that money to now fund negative ads. Now, I'm not calling Mr. DeSantis a racist. I'm simply saying the racists believe he's a racist.
I'm not calling him a racist. I'm saying the racists think he's a racist, right? And when you have racist policies, right, it's easy for racists or for liberals to say you have racist policies, right? Especially if you have racist connections.
The attacks on America begin with saying it's built on slavery and racism, and we are a white supremacist culture.
Now, in 2015, in your speech before the Freedom Center, you said of Mr. Horowitz, David has done such a great work, and I've been an admirer. I've been to these conferences in the past, and I've been a big admirer of an organization that shoots straight, tells the American people the truth, and is standing up for the right thing.
Right? Now, this is the dude he's talking about, right? I'm not saying the dude is racist, but the racists can call him a racist.
Which is ludicrous, particularly in this day and age. We had a president in Barack Obama who was black and who was elected by 56% of people who voted for him were white.
Those are his words. Here's my question.
He had not even made those statements then.
Yes, he had, sir.
Now, if you don't think that that is in itself a remarkable fact, there isn't a black country in the world that's elected a white president. There isn't an Asian country in the world that's elected a white person.
It ain't a Mexican country in the world that elected a Mexican president, right? A white president, right? So he's right about that. Africa is not about to elect no white president. Somalia is not about to elect no white president. China is not about to elect no white president. So the only place a white president can get elected is America or England or some shit like that. You only can be white and get elected as president in certain places, right? And if you American, right, the only place you can get elected as a white man is America. You can be born anywhere you want to. That's a fact.
State House has approved.
Now, this is some cold shit, right? Now, this is how Ron DeSantis scared the shit out of black people, right? To not vote, right? Because black people actually was getting locked up for voting, right? Under a Ron DeSantis bill, right? And Ron DeSantis was probably going around saying he was locking these people up for voting, right? In the 2020 election, right? Now, it was a lot of minorities in that, right? And they passed a law. Remember, they passed a law about giving ex-felons, right, that done all the proper things and the shit like that, giving them their voting rights back. Somebody like me, right, that's off of probation, that's off of parole, that don't have nothing on his record, right? Right? I should be able to get my voting rights back, right? But in California, they don't do that. So in Florida, they voted for that, right? So they voted for black people, and everybody who had a past record can get their voting rights back, right? So after that was passed, they actually rescinded on it and started locking black people up right before the midterms, right before the elections, right before the Santos was fit to get elected, right, which denied and over 1 million something people a vote, right? Now DeSantis won by like 1 million or something, right? Now it probably it would have been a different outcome if them people who was allowed to vote in 2020 was allowed to vote this time, right? The reason why they didn't, because they were scared they might go to jail.
A bill restoring the voting rights of convicted felons who have completed their sentences. That was mandated by a constitutional amendment approved by voters in November.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We turn now to Florida, where the newly formed Office of Election Crimes and Security has made its first arrests of people it accuses of committing voter fraud tied to the 2020 election.
Right? Voter fraud tied to the 2020 election. He could have done it in 2020. He could have done it in 2021. He could have done it early part of 2022, right? He done it 2 weeks ago. Started arresting people right before the midterms.
First, recently released body cam footage shows Tampa police arresting dozens of people in August for alleged voter fraud. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has said these individuals could not legally vote due to their criminal record.
Right. What we're seeing here with these individuals who were arrested was the state actually crossing a line.
The state actually crossing a line, right? So Ron DeSantis signed the bill that black folks and a lot of other advocates say was crossing the line and was racist, right? Because it was aimed towards black people.
The arrests come just as voters are set to go to the polls Tuesday in the state's primary.
Right.
But some of those who were arrested claim they were confused by a 2018 Florida statute, which restored the right to vote to
right? Restored the right to vote. People was getting arrested because they had their vote restored, right? In Florida, a bill that Ron DeSantis signed, and right before the midterms, he got on national TV and said he made these arrests, right? Now, if you voted in the 2018 election and you voted in the 2020 election and you thought you had the right to vote because this law passed, and all of a sudden you hear about people on TV, on the news, getting arrested for voting in the 2020 election, and you in the same category as them of having a record and cleaned up your record and all that other shit, hell no, you ain't gonna go out and vote because you scared your ass might get arrested too, like these folks got arrested because they thought they could legally vote.
Some felons.
A very important line when you talk about democracy and when you talk about criminal justice reform. These individuals arrested was in some way or another given assurances by the state that they were in fact able to vote, able to register to vote.
So under the Constitution, states have the right to limit the rights of felons to vote. And different states have different rules with regard to that. Some states have very restrictive laws like Florida has had in the past. Some states actually allow felons to vote from jail, and states like Vermont, for instance. Now, in Florida, there's been recent changes in their laws. They had a ballot initiative and some rule changes that went through litigation that were going to change and allow more former felons as they were re-entering society to have the right to vote and participate in their democracy.
Right, like me, right? My shit happened over 5 years ago, and I still haven't got my voting rights restored or anything like that, right? It still haven't gave me my voting rights or no shit like that. I don't know what I got to go through to get my voting rights restored, right? Now, these people was finna get their voting rights restored. Like I say, they was in the same position I was, right? Or I am in right now, right? So if California said, hey, if you you've been on probation or you haven't been in jail or something like that, and you get your voting rights restored, and I go down there and I vote and they arrest me, that's gonna be fucked up. That's exactly what happened in this case. And Ron DeSantis got on national TV and said this shit, right? And he promoted this shit. So people were scared to go out and vote.
In Florida.
News out of Florida, one of the ballot initiatives in Florida that has raised a lot of national attention, including statewide effort, has been Amendment 4, which would restore voting rights to felons. This affects...
Right? Did you hear that? Restore voting rights to felons, right? It passed by over 25 million votes, right? I mean, it passed by like 2,400 million votes, right? That they're going to give felons, right, their rights back, right? And when they got their rights back and they wouldn't vote because it passed and it went through legislation, all those shit, and it passed, these same people got arrested.
This affects over 1 million potential voters in Florida.
Over 1 million potential voters in Florida, right? So you think when Florida turned on their TV and they saw people in handcuffs getting arrested for voting, you think they was going to go out and be quick to vote?
The Tampa Bay Times reports of the 19 people arrested, 12 were registered as Democrats and at least 13 were black.
13 was black and most of them was Democrats, you know what I'm saying? But you have to arrest some Republicans, you know, to make it look right, and some independents, right? But you got 13 of them was black. That means 7 of them was probably Mexican or white, you know what I'm saying? But a different mix of races, right? So out of this voting right that you passed, DeSantis, right? When these black people thought they had the right to vote, you went out and you put on TV, right, that all the black people that you arrest, right, and the news made sure to cover all the black people that you arrested, right? If you go look on the news, right, it's all black people, right? They had one white person up there, one Mexican, right, that was getting arrested on TV. It was not even a Republican. It was all Democrats, right, and it was all black people.
The office was a pet project of Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, who announced the arrest Thursday.
It's 2 felony charges for voter fraud, but they've reduced it to $500 bonds. So it's $1,000 total.
Oh my God, man! What?
Yes, sir. So unfortunately, right now we're going to have to take you to jail.
And this is now we've got to project.
Take you to jail on something you thought was voted on and was approved of, right? And you got permission to do it. You have to go through a certain a set of procedures to even get your voting rights back, to even get your name on the ballot, right? So why is he getting arrested for something that the state let go through? You shouldn't check him. You should check the state or the process.
Answer on Amendment 4 in Florida. It looks to be, it looks like Amendment 4 will pass.
So, ma'am, we have a warrant for your arrest. For what? For voter fraud. Good, how are you, sir?
They going over people's house like cops on the first 48 for a damn voting registration form.
Boss, how's it going? Oh my God, hold on. Wait. Let me tell my husband.
We're telling him, he's right here.
Right here. So if you can put your hands on your back, please. Oh my God. Do not move.
Ultimately, ma'am, you have a warrant. Okay. The warrant. Hold on, listen. I know you caught off guard. I understand. Right? So you have a warrant. It's for voter fraud.
The onus is on the state to determine whether or not an individual is eligible or not. And when these individuals actually reached out to the state, or in some cases, the state reached out to them to encourage them to register to vote, once they did that and they were able to participate in an election, guess what? Now they're getting arrested.
Imagine that. The state reached out to you and said you have the right to vote. The new law done passed and you have the right to vote. Come down here and register. You go down there and register. You get your paperwork. You actually go into the thing and vote, right? Something that the state gave you permission to. Then 2 years later, they come knock on your door right before midterm and say, hey, your ass is under arrest for voting.
Voting when you're not supposed to, sir, is what our understanding of the law. Because of your sex offender status, you're not supposed to be voting. You don't have a non-support warrant.
I don't know this.
But there's been a lot of confusion about that. The state hasn't been very clear about what those rules are with regard to those former felons. And in many cases, as we saw in this body cam footage, former felons who were, let's be clear, they were otherwise eligible voters. They were adult American citizens. They resided in Florida. They had served their time. They were out of jail. They had been told by employees of the state of Florida that they, in fact, could register to vote at places like the Motor Vehicles Department.
Right? You have to go to the DMV, right, to fill out a form to register. And they're getting arrested. They're going to use this against the Santos, right? The arresting of black people right before midterms.
I'm like, voter fraud. I voted, but I ain't commit no fraud.
Well, so that's the thing. I don't know exactly what happened with it, but you do have a warrant.
That's a big deal, not just for the people directly affected by having their voting rights restored in Florida. This is a big issue of racial justice because of the racial disproportionate impact of this type of policy.
And they're going to say that mostly, right, benefited, mostly this advantage towards black folks. You know they're going to use that. They can't let this shit out.
Voter fraud. Let's walk over to my car, okay? Y'all doing this now and this happened years ago? I don't know. I have no idea, man. This is crazy, man. Yes, sir. We're going to go over to the hood of my car, and I'm going to search you, okay? What is wrong with this state, man?
What is wrong with this state, man? This happened 3 weeks ago. Remember this, right? This happened 3 weeks ago, right? And you know how much support, or how many supporters that Santos probably could have lost because of this?
Voter fraud.
The state of Florida has charged and is in the process of arresting 20 individuals across the state for voter fraud.
13 black.
And this was also thought to be a potential turnout issue in terms of Democratic turnout in Florida. With the Senate race and the governor's race still too close to call at this point, we'll wait to see whether this may end up being a determinative factor.
Right, and that was a Republican, that was a bipartisan vote, right? That was 2.5 million more, right, than no vote. So it had to be a lot of Republicans and independents also voted for that law, right? Something that the state voted for and approved of, right?
And it's very disheartening. You know, we're talking about, just like in Amendment 4, you know, we led this effort to enfranchise people from all walks of life and all political persuasions, right? We fought just as hard for the person who wanted to vote for Donald Trump as the one who wished they could have voted for President Barack Obama.
Eddie Glaude, they don't know what to say, so I hand it over to you.
Many of those arrested were people who were formerly incarcerated. The state said they did not have their voting rights properly restored or were ineligible due to their convictions.
It's infuriating, Joe. Out of the 20 people who were arrested, 13 were African American.
Well, African American, right? Let me get up out of here, you know what I'm saying? Because I got a show later on today. I got to go get a haircut, right? But this goes to show, right? Ron DeSantis, right? We can't let this information get out, right? We can't let the Republicans have a bad name or a racist name or anything like that. So we got to keep this information secret, right? We can't let this get out on the main public stage. Ron DeSantis should drop out of the president's name and throw his name in a hat later on, because if Donald Trump gets exposing this dude, it's going to be ugly. It's not going to be nice. You know what I'm saying? So I want to thank y'all for coming out. You know what I'm saying? I got to promote this channel a little bit more. I got to build this channel up. You know what I'm saying? I ain't worried about the views. It's all about the promotion of this channel, because they keep on flagging my other channels. So I got to create another channel. So I'm going to be doing a little lives on this channel. So hopefully you can come on back. I'm going to be doing some shows on here, and I'm going to get the, I'm going to give me a so I can be doing 2 shows at a time, one on here and one on Rumble at the same damn time. You know what I'm saying? So you can catch me on here, or you're going to be able to catch me on Rumble at the same damn time. That's what I'm about to do. So I thank y'all for coming. I hope you enjoyed this show, right? And I'm going to have some more videos for your ass later on, right? And I'm going to release that Michael Jackson skit on Rumble too. You know, they flagged me for YouTube, so I'm going to release that on Rumble later on today. So if you're around later on tonight, get ready for that Michael Jackson skit. I'm up out of here. Thank y'all for coming out. I got to get up out of this bitch. Go get me a haircut.